the long-awaited Deadpool 3, which has now been retitled to Deadpool and Wolverine, debuted its trailer as expected during the Super Bowl this past Sunday, and we got our first look at this film, which we have been eagerly anticipating for quite some time now. We know it's going to come out this July, and the trailer, I think by all accounts, was super successful. It debuted during the most watched Super Bowl broadcast in history. Also, congrats to you. Chiefs win again, by the way.
Yes,
But
sir.
this trailer has now walked away with 365 million views in the first 24 hours, surpassing the previous record holder, Spider-Man No Way Home, which had about 355 million. Now, of course, they added in the Super Bowl viewership into that number. So if you just take the raw numbers from the internet, it's a little bit closer to about 240, 245 or somewhere around there. But still, by all accounts, it's a really, really impressive number. But we got our first look at Deadpool and Wolverine, again, coming out this July. How did you feel about this trailer, man? What did you think about this first tease that we're going to get for this major movie that's going to come out later this year?
Oh, it was great, man. I think it came at a time that I felt like we needed some newfound confidence in what Marvel had going on, and I think we had a lot of worries, about Deadpool coming into this thing, coming into this year, coming into Marvel as a property in general, Marvel Studios, and we needed to feel some sense of excitement, but also a small sense of security too, knowing that Deadpool was a rated R character and Marvel had yet to really chart that territory, at least here recently. And so I think, man, the trailer did what it needed to do. It got me extra super excited for what's to come. I love how everything about it definitely feels like a teaser. Everything about it definitely is shadows of things and remnants of things and like little glimpses of things. It really is a teaser, but I think by and large it succeeded and did everything that they were hoping to do, but I think that I was hoping for it to do as well. We spoke about this being the one movie that the MCU has this year, and that's a lot of weight on its shoulders. And I'm just proud to say this is a very good beginning, I think, to that story, to it being the only Marvel film that's going to come out this year. So, man, just kudos to them for actually, I think, understanding the assignment and coming through with a really good trailer. But a lot to talk about, but man, those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I was really happy to see this. As you said, teaser. This is really just the first look out of the gate. It's not meant to give you story. It's not meant to give you too much. This is really just to whet the appetite, to get you excited for Deadpool and Wolverine coming out this year. And I think that they achieved it, while still giving us even more than I probably expected. Obviously, not so much in the way of Wolverine, which I think is a really good choice to hold back Hugh Jackman. We've already seen the picture. His name is in the title. Like, what more could you want? We know he's going to be a major character in the movie. He's sharing the title of the name, for goodness sake. But I think all of the other stuff that we got, the TVA connections, to see how much that's going to apparently play a part in this movie, there's quite a lot of that. And I think that was a good choice on the part of Marvel Studios to really kind of focus most of this trailer on those elements, because that's the one thing that we are familiar with. We've seen in other avenues like Loki, of course. And so they can focus on that particular element within the story so as not to give much away with what's going to happen, because I'm sure there's a ton of surprises. But the thing that they needed to do first and foremost out of the gate is to show us this is the same Deadpool. This is Ryan Reynolds, rated R, gory, ridiculous language, ridiculous jokes. I mean, within the first 30 seconds of the trailer, we got a joke about pegging. So, I mean, they showed you automatically this is going to be the same Deadpool. And then we go into all of the fourth wall breaking, the meta contextual nature of Deadpool. So that stuff was super successful. And I was really glad to see Matthew McFadden also here. He was really, really pleasant to see. It seems like he's going to have somewhat of a major role. And then obviously I think we start to kind of see maybe some other teases as to what the story could potentially be and what they might be utilizing Deadpool for in this particular story, just based off of the very limited information we have. Obviously, what are you able to piece together in terms of how Deadpool might fit into this whole thing? I mean, we've speculated about potentially what the Fox universe and the role that might play into the story. Obviously, the TVA, as we know in the MCU, TVA has largely been utilized to prune timelines, to correct timelines, to go back and repair things that might have been in disrepair at some point in time before. And then obviously knowing that Deadpool is now going to be a part of the MCU, at least for the foreseeable future. What are you able to make out of what we saw in this first look in terms of what the story might look like?
Yeah, I think it is similar to everything we've kind of already been speculating and talking about, which is Deadpool and Wolverine kind of kill whatever the Fox universe is. I think TVA is asking for the assistance of Deadpool because one, he Deadpool is formidable, and the people that he's being asked to go and kill, only Deadpool can kill them, or he's the only person that can actually prune them from these very specific timelines, and those being the heroes that we know and love from those Fox movies and universes. I also have a small, I don't even know if it's a theory, but of course a small little theory that he's might have to kill some Wolverines,
Hmm.
different kinds of Wolverines, right? Like I think there's the one main Hugh Jackman Wolverine that we see, but that's one very specific Wolverine. Wolverine has come in many shapes and forms throughout all of these Fox universes, and so part of me thinks he might actually have to go get some Wolverines as well, and he's again as we've been knowing comics. Deadpool is one of the only people that can do that, and so I think that's why they're asking for his assistance to do those things.
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of stood out the most to me in the trailer was not actually footage. It was the tagline, and that was that everyone deserves a happy ending. And for me, when I think about this movie and what that could mean, it's the fact that yes, those Fox characters from those X-Men films, potentially from those Fantastic Four films, from those
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil Electra films, they never got a send off. And I think Kevin Feige, as the boss of Marvel, he's always talked a lot about send offs and the fact that many superhero franchises prior to Endgame never really had true proper send offs, and that was just such an important thing for him. And to know that he got his start in the industry on the first X-Men film, that was literally where all of this began for him as a
Mm-hmm.
figurehead, as an executive in Hollywood. I imagine that he has a soft spot for those characters and for that franchise, and he wants to see them get a proper send off that they never truly got. And so, whether that comes in the way of Deadpool killing them, whether that comes in the way of them assisting Deadpool and Wolverine and whatever the mission is, I don't know. I don't know how we'll get there, but it really does seem like a swan song, I think, in the way of seeing all of those original OG X-Men come back, maybe even some of the ones that were in the prequel franchise as
Mm-hmm.
well, the James McAvoys, the Michael
Yeah.
Fassbenders, maybe some of those other people as well. And then we know, and it was reported upon, that Jennifer Garner is going to come back. So that also opens up the door for even more people beyond X-Men. Like that goes into other Fox franchises that they were shepherding during those years that they had acquisition of Marvel characters for a certain amount of time. So I'm interested to see what that all means for this. But the TVA being involved here also potentially says a lot. And to your point about multiple X-Men or multiple Wolverines, I should say, that's also, I think, a really, really exciting prospect, because even in the Fox universe, there were kind of multiple iterations of Wolverine that we saw.
Exactly.
So they
Mm-hmm.
can easily bring that over here. I think in the trailer, we potentially could speculate about a version of Wolverine maybe being a patch version of Wolverine that was in
Mm.
Madripoor, because we just see the back of his head in the
Mm-hmm.
white
Mm-hmm.
tuxedo. Patch in the comics most of the time, would wear a patch over his eye and typically a white tuxedo, very James Bond esque. So maybe that's another variation of that character. And I think the last thing too that's really interesting to me is how kind of this all works out really easily for Marvel, because even at the end of Deadpool 2, he had Cable's time travel machine and device at his disposal, and he was
Yeah.
able to go and correct things from the past. And that's just so funny how we got to this place to where if they want to utilize that as a story beat, which I feel like they will, that's just
Mm-hmm.
so easily can fit into the story, because perhaps Deadpool was fucking up timelines, and that's why the TVA went after him to begin with. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, you weren't supposed to touch the Green Lantern stuff, bro. Like, that's not your lane. That's for us to do. Now you have to work for us in order to not serve a sentence or whatever the case may be. And so I think it's going to be really, really exciting. I guess the last question is that I have for this trailer specifically. They did tease at least one X-Man. Aaron Stanford returned as Pyro in this trailer, which I don't think
Mm.
anybody saw coming, but it feels like maybe the most, probably the least consequential X-Men character that they could show without giving away the big guns. They're not going to show,
Yeah.
I'm just speculating here, Halle Berry, for example. They wouldn't go that far in a teaser trailer, but Aaron Stanford as Pyro, it's like, oh wow, that's from X2. That's from X-Men The Last Stand. So obviously they're gonna play with that. Do you have any early speculations on who we might see in terms of original OG X-Men, other X-Men characters, maybe mutant characters we haven't been introduced to? Any thoughts on who might pop up in this movie come July?
So there is one other small little Easter egg. This is the nerdiest thing. I don't know. People will be scouring the internet. I scour the internet. but also the bridge from X-Men The Last Stand is in the trailer. And
Oh, I
so
didn't
I
notice that.
think, yeah, it's crazy, right? I know. But I think, man, to be honest, anybody that's in that movie to me is free game, which is everybody. Like everybody's in X-Men The Last Stand. I really think we'll get them all. I think we'll get the Famke Jensen. I think we'll get the Holly Berry. I think we'll get. I really do. And again, it doesn't have to be in a big capacity, but after seeing Kelsey Grammer come back as Beast, I'm over here like everybody's free game. I think one of my favorite people to hopefully see return is Juggernaut. I would love to see Juggernaut one more time,
Yeah.
especially with both Deadpool and Wolverine present. But man, I really honestly think everybody's fair game. I think one more just to throw a hat in there is then we'll see Rogue one more time. You know, she's such an important character, and she will be in the future too, of course. But I think they'll throw her in there again another love letter to like, no, this is X-Men. Some of these people might need to be in this movie if we're going to send them off. So I think they'll throw Rogue in there as well, man. But yeah, I think everybody in the Last Stand, whoever that is free game.
Yeah, The Last Stand had a ton of mutants in that movie.
A
There were
ton
there
of
were
mutants.
there were a lot of X-Men, but it feels like that cast always felt like a cast that was always up to just come back and do stuff like this. I mean, especially if Hugh Jackman is back, and I think if they
Mm-hmm.
know like, oh, Hugh's attached to it, yeah, we're gonna come back. Famke Jensen and James Marsden and Halle Berry, like it feels
Mm-hmm.
like they would all just be like, oh, for sure, we're gonna come back. Let's just make sure that Bryan Singer's not attached because not a great guy, but hey, we have a new story, a new director, obviously, a new vision for what this could mean, and of course, again, I think that singular opportunity to have a send off, to really have a goodbye, so that we could have some sort of closure. Even though you could argue maybe Days of Future Past gave that to him, it's like yeah,
It's
but
true.
then they kind of went and kind of muddied the fence, and played with it a little bit more, maybe more so than they had to. And so I think this is a great opportunity for them. So I really can't wait, and it should probably be if not the biggest movie of the year, certainly one of the biggest movies of the year.